Welcome, everyone, to the final Winged Eagle podcast of 2019. GoodMicWork commentaries back at you. What's going on? I know that's kind of a lie. I expected to be up here next Saturday for a podcast, but because most of the shows have already been taped for this week and I have my big year-end video coming 2 days after that, this will be the last, Winged Eagle Saturday podcast until 2020. So we got a lot to get into today, and we're going to close out 2019 with a bang. So I'll be getting into that and this week's video schedule and what you can expect from me during the Christmas holiday and New Year's and all of that. We'll discuss that in a minute. We're going to get into wrestling news. We're going to discuss Raw. We're going to discuss NXT and Rhea Ripley's big victory on Wednesday. We'll talk a little bit about AEW, talk about last night's SmackDown live show, and preview the big Wrestle Kingdom event that's coming up in just a couple of weeks as well. So this is a loaded episode. I want to make sure I can be seen and heard over here. We're looking good. Hello to everybody in the chat. Right off the bat, we got a nice super chat from Jimmy Anderson. Welcome back, buddy. I appreciate it. No way better than spending your Saturday evening here with the wrestling family. Yeah, you are in Sweden, correct? I'm glad you're doing this so I don't have to watch the shows. Yeah, well, I'm not going to get into every little detail of every show this week, but we are going to pretty much gloss over everything, talk about the key points, the highlights, and of course, some of the big matches and big victories we saw this week. And it should be a fun, casual hangout podcast Saturday afternoon, like always. Basically, the format for this episode, I'm going to talk about my schedule first, and I'm going to talk about the YouTube drama that most of you saw me go through this week. I don't know if all of you did, but if you haven't, stay tuned for that. And after that, we'll get into a little bit of wrestling news, touch on this past week's Raw, but really not discuss much of it. Just going to talk about Seth and Rey Mysterio and the Lashley and Lana wedding coming up next week. And then we'll discuss AEW and NXT, two big head-to-head shows this past Wednesday and last night's SmackDown. And like I said, preview Wrestle Kingdom and possibly speculate more on the Royal Rumble and maybe even WrestleMania. It just depends on where the day takes us. I've got plenty of time this afternoon. I am working this evening, but not for a little while, so I don't have to cut this podcast short to 90 minutes, which is cool. As far as my schedule goes, you're going to have another video tomorrow, a brand new This Day in History. I finished it up last night. It's a fun one. Another holiday-themed Monday Night Raw match that I'm going to discuss tomorrow, so keep a lookout for that. I'll probably upload that sometime early tomorrow morning on the East Coast, like 8 a.m. on the East Coast, something like that is when I will release that video to all of you. I want this video to sit on the channel for a little while and marinate and soak up some views before I hit you with that This Day in History, because today's video and tomorrow's video, there's a very good chance these will be my last uploads until December 30th, which is a week from this Monday, which will be my final year-end big Q&A video. Most of you have been awesome, who've been sending in questions to my email address, goodmicwork@gmail.com. I've gotten a lot of them, so I pretty much don't need any more, but if you want to send me a few, try to get them in at the last minute, go right ahead. I'm selecting a bunch of emails to answer in the big Q&A, and then this week, probably on Monday, probably a week out, I will make posts on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and even on YouTube, allowing you guys to ask some more questions, and I'll save a few of those. And then the night of the stream, I'll be answering a shit ton of them in the chat. So it'll be like a Raw review, big Q&A bash. I've got the bubbly sitting right behind me that I'm going to open up and crack open and drink that. So that will be fun, and it'll be a fun way to close out 2019. So keep a lookout for that on December 30th. But between now and then, after tomorrow's This Day in History, I don't plan on doing a Raw review this Monday, because the show has already been taped a week ago, and I have some plans for the holidays, so there will be no Raw review on Monday. And like I said, next Saturday, no Winged Eagle podcast, because the only show we're really going to have to discuss is SmackDown. And generally, historically, during Christmas week, there's never any huge news that breaks. So I'm not ruling out an upload. I might come up here for a quick live stream or something like that, maybe on Thursday, the day after Christmas, or Friday, something like that, just to discuss anything that needs to be discussed. But as far as a full-form podcast like this is it until 2020. So it should be a fun day. So with that being said, who was with me this past Monday and watched all of the YouTube drama that I had to go through? So this past Monday, I'm setting up to do my Raw review, as I have been doing all month long through the month of December. I'm watching Monday Night Raw and setting up the stream, and right in the middle of Monday Night Raw, I get hit with an email saying that a copyright claim has been filed on my TLC review from last Sunday. WWE has filed a copyright claim on the video. YouTube has removed the video and given my channel a copyright strike, which has not happened to me since like my first year in YouTube before I even knew what the fuck I was doing. So naturally, there's no reason for this to have a copyright strike. It was just me doing this, talking into a webcam. So I knew it was bullshit. So I wasn't even freaking out. But when you get hit with a copyright strike, the very first thing that they do to you is disable your ability to live stream. So I kind of had to scramble. I moved my live stream over to my second channel, told all you guys to sub the channel over there because that's going to have to be my live stream backup while I get the YouTube nonsense figured out. I was confident that I would, because I knew there was nothing wrong with the video. And in a lot of ways, I was almost like happy that it happened because it's been in the back of my mind. So many creators on YouTube are dealing with this bullshit from this fucking site. Videos getting pulled down or getting age restricted or all of these bogus claims that creators have to deal with on a daily basis. And I've been watching from afar a lot of people dealing with some really fucked up shit on YouTube. And I've been waiting for it to land on me, and it finally hit me right in the face on Monday night. So I tweeted out that I got hit with a copyright strike, and big thank you to Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful, who immediately reached out and gave me all of his contacts in WWE. Joe Cronin did the same thing. He's dealt with this as well, and he hit me up with some contacts. I emailed everybody I could in WWE and begging them to take away this claim because it was bullshit. And within 48 hours, I got a response from a couple of people, and one guy in particular said, "We're sorry for the inadvertent strike. We've removed the claim and all is right with the world." So it was a couple of days there of panic because it really shows you how fragile this whole platform is. And it's a good thing I still have my, my podcasts available in podcast form and on my website, so you can always find me. But YouTube is my main platform, and YouTube is where I enjoy uploading the most and where I get the most exposure. So I don't really want anything to happen to this site, but it's really frustrating how many people and how many creators are just working their asses off, providing content, and have to constantly jump over these hurdles and these automated claims and these manual bots or algorithms or whatever the hell is going on with YouTube that is constantly fucking great creators directly in their ass on a daily basis is absurd. So luckily, there's good people in WWE who are there and positioned to handle this kind of thing. I'm almost glad that I had the practice on this, because I'm sure something like this will happen again. Some automated, system will claim the video or remove it or something like that, and I'll have to go through the steps to get it restored again. So at least I know now. At least I have avenues to go through. At least I'm not like clueless, because when it happened, I'm like, oh shit. Had these people not reached out, I might not have known what to do aside from just filing the counter notifications. So that was a big pain in the ass this week. But by the time we got to Thursday, it was all hammered out. And here we are on Saturday live streaming on the channel. So it's a good idea just to sub my second channel just in case. If this ever happens again, that'll be my live stream backup. I can still upload as many videos as I want on my main channel. It's just the live streaming will be taken away if anything like that happens again. So sub my second channel. It's not a bad idea. I'm going to use that as a backup for now, but hopefully this will not be an issue again. And if it is, all I got to do now, I just know that I have to email WWE and say, yo, assholes, please remove this copyright claim. It's bullshit. And I very much appreciate the people in WWE that went through and released this claim for me. Thank you very much for giving my channel back to me. So that was kind of an annoying situation, but it happened. We moved on. We remained positive, and everything worked out. So I was confident the whole time that it was going to work out. I knew there was not, if it was a video that I had used a bunch of footage in or something, like my Armageddon 2000 review, that was kind of a test. It was me on camera, but I just had like a few seconds of B-roll in there, here or there, and sure enough, WWE filed a copyright claim on that too, except they just take the monetization from the video. The video didn't get pulled down, no effect on my channel, no punishment, nothing like that. So the whole system is so arbitrary, and the whole system is so broken. How I've got one video up there that I actually used footage in, but WWE's okay with that. They're just going to take the ad revenue from it. And then you have another video where it's just me talking into a webcam and they pull it the fuck down. What's going on? It's frustrating. And like I said, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, who helped me out so much, he's dealing with it 100 times worse than me. They pulled his entire channel. He had his whole channel removed, and they have to basically start from scratch which sucks. So the fact that he's going through that nonsense and was still willing to reach out and help me was very cool, because I'd be going out of my mind if I was in his situation. So YouTube sucks. YouTube is a pain in every creator's ass, and it's growing bigger and bigger every day, and I'm just worried that these problems are going to get worse. But I'm also hopeful that these problems are getting so bad that YouTube will have no choice, but to start fixing them. Otherwise, there needs to be another platform that we can all go to, to upload our videos. And I mentioned on Twitter the other day, I was this close to starting my own website called GregTube, where we can upload whatever the fuck we want. Just do it. I ain't going to pull anything down. So anyway, that happened this week for those of you that weren't even aware of that. And if you haven't taken a look at my channel in a week or so, you probably missed it, and it was not even a big deal. So anyway, that's the latest with the channel there. Before we get into the wrestling news, as always, as I do every Saturday on the Winged Eagle, I want to shout out my current and active patrons. I always get the fucking names confused. Patrons on Patreon. Thank you very much, as always, for all of you that support this channel monthly. You guys help pay the bills and the website bills and the web hosting and, the podcast and the archiving and all that stuff, all the fees that I endure. You guys cover a lot of that, and you keep the ball rolling. So I appreciate your support. As always, Blake Moran and Barry MK400. Go check out his YouTube channel, by the way. Claudio Clavadetcher, Daniel Rodriguez, Jay Karg, Music, Domanian, Elwell Sr., John Riffle, John Redifer, Josiah Blevins, Keith Hammonds, Christian Collins, Michael Cuomo, Keith Salyers, Mr. Steve, Steve Myers, Nathan Walker, and the Double Z TV. Thank you for all of your lifetime pledges. As I'm looking at some of the numbers here, you guys have been pledging for a long time and supporting the channel. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. So there we go. That's all I have really for the pleasantries and the channel update and the YouTube drama and the schedule and all of that. Let's get into some wrestling news now. And the news is really light this week. There's not a whole lot going on, and that's generally the case around the holidays. Nothing ever crazy happens, and I fully expect this upcoming week to be a really slow news week. We'll start with Ric Flair. The Observer was reporting this week that Ric Flair's contract apparently is up at the end of the year, and there has been talk even months out, of him maybe appearing in AEW with, Ric Flair. That's being a very Ric Flair thing to do. He tends to chase the money, and if AEW is willing to throw a bunch at him to lure him away from WWE, I really feel at the end of the day, Ric's loyalty is to money, not to any wrestling company, so he will go wherever he wants. I don't know if WWE is going to be able to convince him to re-sign some sort of a Legends deal or some sort of a deal with the company to keep him away from AEW, but he already had that drama with them earlier this year, and Becky Lynch using the phrase "the man," and he wanted to be paid for it, and Ric Flair's starting to lose it. So I don't know what kind of an asset he would be for any company these days. I think if WWE signs him, it'll be primarily to keep him away from AEW. And if AEW signs him, they'll put him out on TV to do his wooing and all of that. And, it'll be what it is. So I don't know. I kind of hope, Ric Flair sticks around. But then again, having him in AEW might be fun. Arn is there. Tully is there. Those guys are all 100 years old now, but it is kind of cool to see them all, if they all were under the same umbrella again. So we'll see what the future holds for Ric Flair. But if I was a betting man, Triple H or Vince will work their magic with Flair and probably be willing to pay him. Flair's actually in a good position, even at this stage of his career. The guy was near death, just a year or so ago, all sorts of health problems. And for him to still be relevant enough for companies to bid for his services is pretty amazing when you think about it. So who knows where Ric Flair will land, but I kind of hope he just sticks around WWE for his own sake. Killer Kross is now a free agent. He actually starts up with MLW in February. Now, he was kind of being held hostage by Impact Wrestling with his contract, and there was even an option for them to roll over the contract when it was up for another year. Now, they elected, luckily, not to do that, so Killer Kross is not going to be stuck for another year. They didn't renew his contract, and he's now free to go and do whatever he wants. Now, I'm in no hurry for Killer Kross to rush to AEW or rush to NXT. I think the dude is a badass. I think he's awesome. He's a great guy, very positive. Everybody likes him, extremely approachable on social media, and just an all-around good dude. And I think we as wrestling fans all want him to succeed. However, based on what he's just been through with Impact Wrestling, I'm not sure if this guy's going to be in a terrible hurry to go sign some ironclad contract with another company. I'm not sure if he's really ready to go through that. And there's no rush. The sky's the limit for this guy. He's supremely talented, and I think the more time he spends on the indie scene and bouncing around and gaining that experience, the bigger name he'll have for himself when he does sign with a major company. So I think it might be in his best interest to not rush to AEW or NXT right now, but rest assured, that guy's going to be a big star somewhere, and I would love to see him go to NXT. I actually think that might be a better spot for him than AEW. If Killer Kross can be in a developmental program like that with the likes of Triple H and Shawn Michaels and all the trainers and shit they have there and all the talent, for him to help grow with, I think the sky's the limit for him. But as for immediate purposes, I'm in no rush to see him sign any contracts with anybody really right now. Roman Reigns, apparently, now that WWE SmackDown is on the Fox network, he's going to wrestle a match on the big Steve Harvey New Year's Eve show. I think never even watched this thing. I'm always working on New Year's Eve. So I guess that's the version of what Dick Clark used to do back in the day. Steve Harvey does a big party for Fox. And next week on SmackDown, I think it's the only show next week that's not taped. It will be live, I believe. And they'll probably tape that Roman Reigns match on that SmackDown show to be aired on the 31st. I suppose is what's happening there. So Roman is going to have a big presence on Fox's New Year's Eve. Kofi Kingston and Dana Brooke have both signed new 5-year deals. This story came out on WWE Backstage this week. Now, Kofi signing a 5-year deal, that's pretty good for him. That's likely going to be his final long contract. And there's been a lot of talk and a lot of speculation that maybe, we should not be ruling out him getting another shot at the title. They have been mentioning it on TV in the last, several weeks or so. They're not ignoring it like the fans like to claim that they're doing. Kofi's character is definitely acting like he never had the belt. He definitely... Oh, sorry. I thought I read something really pornographic on the chat there, but I did not. Sorry about that. But I think that with all of the mentions of Kofi, I wouldn't really rule out him getting another shot at the title. No matter what the fans say, Kofi's still out there tossing pancakes and acting like he never won the title, and it never mattered. It was never a big deal. But I think that might play into it, sometime down the road in the future. I don't know if it'll be for this year for the Royal Rumble, and then he gets another shot at Brock. I doubt it, but they could also always do that. But with him signing a 5-year deal, I would not rule out making up for the 5-second loss he had against Brock Lesnar. I just think that would be a nice, comeback story for Kofi. Dana Brooke signing a new deal did surprise me because I've been thinking a lot about the women lately. And every time we hear about contracts approaching expiration, most notably with teams like the Revival, and some other wrestlers, and we're all like, oh my God, are they going to jump, to AEW like Moxley did last year? And we haven't really mentioned much about the women. And with all of the male wrestlers in WWE that seem to be unhappy, what about the women? There has to be at least a couple of women in the WWE that are not happy with their position and not happy with what they're doing. And I'd like to know some of the contract statuses of those ladies, because they're the ones I think could maybe jump. Think about how, AEW's women's division is getting better, especially, with Chris Statlander coming on the scene and them adding a few pieces, but still, it's nothing. I mean, if you're ranking this from 1 to 10, female rosters, across the board, WWE, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT have a 10. AEW has like a 2.3. Like, there's just no comparison between the women's rosters. So if you're a WWE female wrestler and your contract is coming up, you're in a position to now be a big fish in a little pond, where you're just a little fish in a big pond where you are now with the Rouseys and the Charlottes and the Asukas and, and the Shayna Baszlers and the Ripleys and the amazing talent they have under that umbrella. If I was a female wrestler, I would think about bouncing. And I'm going to talk about one of those possibilities here in a little bit. Sasha Banks, who had a very interesting retweet earlier today, but I'll talk about that when we get into SmackDown. Other than Kofi and Dana Brooks' new deals and all of the other news I mentioned, the only other thing I have written down is I just put Trish doc. And if any of you have not taken a look at the Trish Stratus WWE 24 documentary that was released on the network, I think maybe like 2 weeks ago now, I finally got a look at it last Wednesday. Excellent. Really good. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it yet. And that is pretty much all I have for the news. So as you can tell, it's a pretty damn slow news day. Before we get into Monday Night Raw, let me just peek over here to the chat and check our audience. Ooh, dismal audience today. Where is everybody? 100 people. Come on now. By the way, if you can smash that thumbs up button, I would appreciate it. And as always, I always forget to mention this in the beginning of the podcast, but as always, later on tonight, several hours from now, the audio to this podcast will be available on my website and across all of the podcast sites. But I'm going to have to go to work first before I come back and upload that. So keep a lookout if you're the type of person that likes to listen to these in podcast form. How's it going, Ben Espinoza? Good to see you. Jimmy and Jose and Boris. And How Wheezy, Ungovernable, MJ Parker, Joey G, Sonic, Big J, Sam, Xander, Chat Site Forums, Mr. E. Good to see you guys in here today hanging out. And Lando. I'm just reading Angry Operator's comments here on Rhea Ripley. Yeah, I'm going to talk about Rhea Ripley a lot. You think she reminds you of a female version of The Rock or Hogan? I've always, I don't consider her Rock or Hogan. Rock or Hogan was more charisma. Ripley seems like she's got charisma and she has presence, don't get me wrong, but she seems like she's badass first. She reminds me of a female Drew McIntyre. But I think you're talking about the level of star she is. Rhea Ripley is 23 years old, and provided that she stays healthy, she can give Charlotte a run for her money for being the most decorated female wrestler ever if she continues on the trajectory that she's on, because she's different and she's got a good look and she's got a good all-around character, and I love everything about her. So we'll be talking about her here in just a little bit. I want to backtrack and talk just briefly about Monday Night Raw. Normally, I would direct you guys to my Raw review that I did back on Monday. You can still do that. Head over to my second channel if you want to catch my thoughts on this past week's Monday Night Raw. It's over there because of the YouTube drama from this week. But the only thing I'm really going to talk about today concerning Raw is pretty much the two big angles. Number one was Seth Rollins attacking and targeting Rey Mysterio. I really liked the storyline continuity on Raw. It's very rare to see this in creative these days in WWE, and we saw Rey Mysterio a couple of weeks ago on Raw help Kevin Owens out in his feud with Seth Rollins and the AOP, and Rey gave him a lead pipe, as an equalizer. So Seth Rollins remembered that, and he comes down to the ring on Monday Night Raw with that lead pipe after the AOP beat the shit out of Rey and basically tells Rey that he's targeting him and he's going to get a shot at the United States title, and even hits him with a curb stomp at the end. Now, that match did take place on the Raw taping. It'll air this coming Monday. I'm not going to tell you who won that or anything, but you can look up the spoilers if you would like. There's also been rumors of a brand new United States title going to be debuted soon. I don't know if it debuted on Raw. I didn't read that far into the spoilers, but since Nakamura has recently unveiled the new IC title, it would stand to reason that they're going to upgrade the United States title as well. Apparently, that belt has been finished and made and ready to debut at some point, unless the reports that we're reading are wrong, which that's possible, but I would assume if Seth Rollins does wind up winning the United States title from Rey, maybe Seth will be the one to unveil the new design. And that's probably a good direction for Seth to go, because he's not going to be involved in the WWE title picture right now. I don't think WWE would give us Seth Rollins and Brock again. We got it twice last year. To give it to us this year at WrestleMania with both guys being heel makes zero sense. So that's not going to happen. So I think Seth Rollins being United States champion is likely. Even if he doesn't win the belt this coming Monday, I still think he has a chance to get his hands on it at some point. So it looks like that's going to be your next, top of the card feud on Raw at the moment. I also like that they seem to be setting up Becky Lynch and Asuka again, because Becky had the sit-down interview where she's talked about how she can't seem to beat Asuka. Don't forget, Asuka held that clean victory over here last year at the Royal Rumble. She beat Charlotte and Becky both in the TLC match last year as well. So Asuka has always had Becky's number. And Becky, now that she's been champion for close to a year and will probably be champion for a year heading into WrestleMania, this is probably a victory that WWE wants Becky to have. So the only bad thing about Becky and Asuka is Becky's probably going to beat her. I'm almost certain she will, because at this point, if you're going to have the belt on Becky until December, you might as well keep it on her until Mania, to where she can have a big rematch potentially with Ronda Rousey. And I'm almost certain that's the match we're going to get, Becky and Ronda. I don't know how they're going to get there, if it's going to be Ronda winning the Rumble or Ronda just coming back and challenging, because Ronda, when you think about it, really wouldn't have to win the Royal Rumble. You would think if Ronda comes back, she would automatically be granted a title shot. Don't forget, she was never fucking pinned at WrestleMania. Her shoulder was up, remember? So Ronda does not need the Royal Rumble to get a shot at Becky. But it might just make for the better story if she comes back as a surprise and wins it. And, then the first, 3 winners of your Rumble was Asuka, Becky, and Ronda. Yeah, that ain't so bad. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to see with Becky Lynch, but I'm certain she'll remain champion going into WrestleMania. And now that Shayna Baszler is no longer NXT champion anymore, I think that would be a great place to debut her as well at the Royal Rumble. And I even pitched the idea of Shayna winning it. Might as well. Like I said, Ronda does not need a reason to face Becky. She can just return and face her. So if you have Baszler win the Rumble, she can challenge the SmackDown person. Becky and Ronda can wrestle at WrestleMania, and hell, you can have Ronda and Baszler both walking out of WrestleMania as WWE Raw and SmackDown Women's Champions is what I'm trying to spit out there. So what do y'all think of that possibility? Joe Cronin Show, thank you, man. Hey, I just talked about you in the beginning of the podcast here. I have you and a couple of other guys to thank. Thank you very much for the contacts in WWE. It was actually your guy that was the one that emailed me telling me the strike was removed. So that was awesome. I appreciate your help, Joe, and I'm glad to be back as well. Although I don't know where all the people are. 95 people. What are these? Are jabroni numbers. Come on, y'all. Go call your friends. Call your mom. Bring her in here. She'll like it here. It's a fun little community. Where did I leave off? I was talking about Becky and Ronda and all them, right? So, I think when it comes to WrestleMania and the women and the Royal Rumble, there's like 5, 6, 7 different options they can do there. And hell, we might even get the rematch that we got last year. Remember, Becky and Asuka wrestled at the Royal Rumble, and then Becky joined the Rumble by replacing whoever the hell got injured in the aisleway, whatever the fuck happened there. So they could just do that match again. Royal Rumble rematch from last year. Becky and Asuka. This time, Becky wins and gets her win back, and then whatever happens in the Rumble happens, whether that be Ronda Rousey, Baszler, or whatever. So we'll see. And of course, how can I not discuss the Lashley and Lana proposal from this past week? Now, during the Lashley and Lana proposal, that's when I got the email. That's when I got the email about the copyright strike. So I immediately put my monitor on mute, and I was kind of watching it, but I had no idea what was going on. I just saw Lashley on his knees. He proposed, they hugged and everything, and now we've got the wedding set for December 30th, which is perfect because that's my year-end video, so we will definitely have a lot to talk about. So we've got a wrestling wedding. I don't know what's going to happen, though. I mean, Rusev does not seem like he gives a shit anymore. He's said as much in his promos. Lana is Lashley's headache now. I'm glad to be rid of her. The two deserve each other. I loved CM Punk's idea of Lana eventually driving Lashley crazy, and then Lashley and Rusev form a bromance and form an alliance because of how horribly badly they were treated by Lana. That would be funny, but does Rusev really crash this thing on the 30th? Does he need to? Rusev says he doesn't give a shit. He should be at Denny's, having a grand slam breakfast while the wedding is going on. He literally should not care at all. So weddings never just happen. No, two people don't just say I do and fucking kiss. Something's going to go down on this wedding, but what? Is it just Rusev crashing it? Where he jumps Bobby Lashley, beats him up, and tears up the wedding set while Lana is screaming? They could do that because that's just the easy way. Or they could get nuts. Bring in a fourth person. Let's illustrate what a slut bag Lana is. And let's bring out a third guy that says, you know what? Lana's been cheating on Bobby Lashley with me. So she cheated on Rusev with Lashley. Now she's cheating on Lashley with me. And it turns out that Lana is the next like Missy Hyatt. That would be pretty funny. I'd go for something like that. At least that would be entertaining because she's like a horrible actor, but she's really good at like screaming and yelling and stuff. So I can see her acting somewhat like Stephanie. You know how Stephanie used to yell and scream and get so mad back in the day? Lana's not nearly as good as that, but I can see her like losing her shit in the wedding. So I have no idea what WWE has planned for these nuptials on December 30th, but I'm sure it's going to be cringy and horrible to watch. Can't wait. Oh, my God. Icy Hardaway, thank you, brother, for the $2. AEW needs a mini performance center for their guys. We're going to talk about that because the big viral video that's been going all over social media with the punches delivered to Dustin Rhodes is a big part of the performance center idea that I'm going to talk about here later on when we discuss AEW. But before we get to AEW, we got to talk about NXT. Now, I've been firm in my stance during this whole Wednesday Night War bullshit and nonsense and how I watch all the immature fuck morons on Twitter, the way they act towards each other, the way they insult each other, the way they're yelling and screaming and defending their brand. It's toxic, and I want nothing to do with it. So I planted a flag right from the start saying I have no alliance. I don't care. I just want to watch both shows. I want to be entertained by both shows. And when I find one show more entertaining than the other, I will say so. That's not gospel. If I find one show more entertaining than the other, that does not mean it's better and everybody should consider it better. It's just what I particularly liked. So that's the way I've been judging and rating these shows every single week. However, this week I was firmly behind NXT. Like way before, the shows even happened, I was going to be watching them first. They were going to have all of my attention. They had 2 big matches, 2 title matches, Adam Cole and Finn Balor, and in the main event was going to be Shayna Baszler defending against Rhea Ripley. Now, I have not shut the hell up about Rhea Ripley winning the NXT title since like the summer, because we've been watching Shayna Baszler's title run roll on and roll on and roll on. And you guys know, because I brag about it all the time, in every single takeover prediction video that I've done, every time Shayna Baszler defends the title, whether it's against Bianca Belair, Io Shirai, Candice LeRae, maybe Mia Yim, whoever else she's worked against, which is basically everybody, I've predicted her to win every single time. And fans got so mad. It's time for her to drop the belt. It's been too long. They try to pretend like there's logic behind what they're thinking, but when really it's just they personally want to see Shayna lose the belt because they're tired of her. I'm not tired of her. I like what they're doing with her. They're building her much like Asuka is somebody, and yes, granted, she needs a lot of help to win some matches, so she's not as dominant like Asuka was, but she's got that streak going where she's beating everybody. Who can dethrone her? And once you get to a certain point, it becomes fun, because then you're like, okay, who's going to be the person? So the problem with the fans is they're impatient as hell. And they claim that, she should drop it to Bianca Belair. It makes sense for her to drop it. No, it doesn't. You need to keep this going. Keep this going. That way, when she does lose it, it's such a big deal. And I think fans wanted her to lose the belt just for the sake of losing the belt. They didn't care who it was, whether it be Candice LeRae, and I love Candice. I love Bianca. I love Io Shirai. And I think all of them could be NXT Women's Champions, especially Io Shirai. But I still didn't think any of them were the right girl to take it off Baszler. And if they would have taken it off of her, I think WWE would have been doing it just to do it. So every time I did a prediction, everybody thought I was wrong, thought I was stupid for picking Baszler to win, but it was only because I want her title loss to mean something huge, and be built to the right opponent, the right time. That's the whole point of all of this. The fans are worried, she's beating everybody. There's going to be nobody left to beat. Clearly, that's not the case. People told me that 9 months ago, that if she won the next match, that she was going to beat everybody. I'm like, no, there's plenty of people still. You can still make something happen. So I wanted her to retain. She did. We finally start building up. You see Rhea Ripley burst onto the scene. What a badass she's looking like. And even, the last couple of months, especially the way she's been booked. She had the singles match with Baszler on TV that ended in a DQ or whatever. She looked huge at War Games. And I had said right after that Wednesday night match, I'm like, look, they had no winner here. There's going to be another opportunity for Rhea Ripley. She's my pick. And I said that right from the start. I'm like, okay, finally, you guys have all wanted to know when I think Shayna Baszler should drop the belt. That's the girl. Whenever they do this match, I thought it was going to be TakeOver. I thought it would be a War Games match. I didn't think they would, or a match at War Games. I didn't think they were going to be in the team event. I thought that's what they were building for, but they held it off. And then when you look at the next TakeOver event, not happening until Royal Rumble weekend and it being a Worlds Collide show, I was like, well, you can't really do this match on pay-per-view. You might have to do it on TV, and they did. They booked it for the final live NXT of the year, and as soon as that match was made, I'm like, that's it. This is where you do it. And what happened? More bitching. I don't know, you can give it away on TV instead of pay-per-view. I'm like, yes, give it away on TV. Absolutely. Because it's not just any run-of-the-mill Wednesday night NXT show. It's a big one. It's the final one of the year. It's a big holiday show. It's going to be the last thing we see on NXT. There's nothing at all wrong with that. Some big title changes have taken place on TV. Goldberg beat Hogan. The Rock beat, or Mankind beat The Rock. Steve Austin beat The Undertaker. Plenty of titles have changed hands on television. There's nothing at all wrong with that. And if you're in a ratings battle with AEW, you talk about kicking ass in the ratings. There was absolutely no way NXT was going to lose in the ratings this week with those two matches, and one of those two matches likely being a title change. I put on Twitter, I would have shit out a baby alligator if AEW would have won the ratings this week. There was just no way. There was too much potential on NXT. And about a day before the show, they announced that Adam Cole versus Finn Balor was going to open up NXT, and it was going to be presented commercial free. So as soon as that announcement was made, that just solidified my prediction. I'm like, well, now that guarantees Rhea Ripley and Baszler will be in the main event, which is what I mentioned a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, in order to get this match to work and get it over huge and dethrone Shayna Baszler and have her pass the baton, you got to do that in the main event. And you have to have the last thing you see on the final live NXT show of the year is Rhea Ripley celebrating with the title. That's what I said, and that's exactly what they did. Fucking great shit. So anyway, Adam Cole took on Finn Balor in the opening match, which was great, but I wasn't expecting Adam Cole to drop the belt here. Much like Shayna Baszler, he's had that belt for a while as well. And I thought of him dropping it here in the opening match of NXT against Balor in a match that was made the week before when Balor won a match to earn this opportunity. Just wasn't the right time. You need to build up for the right opponent and have that person beat Adam Cole for the title. Don't do it randomly. So I didn't expect Cole to lose here. He didn't. He wound up winning, beating Finn Balor with some distraction from Johnny Gargano. Gargano comes out to distract Balor. Cole wins with the last shot, and now we're picking back up the Balor and Gargano feud that we were supposed to get at War Games, but Gargano got hurt and wasn't cleared to wrestle. So we're getting that match now, and that's going to be fun, and I'm happy that they did the finish the way they did. And the middle of the show wasn't bad. The matches were fine, but I was ready to get to that main event. So you had Damian Priest defeating Killian Dane, I believe. Cameron Grimes got a big victory over Kushida. That surprised me, especially the fact that Grimes has lost a couple of matches on TV recently, beat Kushida with the double stomp. That outcome surprised me. Io Shirai defeated Santana Garrett, and Pete Dunne defeated Travis Banks. All those matches were pretty good, but to me, they were filler in between the two big title matches. You get to the main event now. Here we go. Rhea Ripley versus Shayna Baszler, NXT title on the line. This was such a great, basic, fundamental wrestling story. This was like page one blueprint type of stuff. When you look at how this match was structured and the hero being positioned to finally win. And I'm often not confident the WWE is going to do one specific thing. I know we've been disappointed a lot. Oh, I can't believe they put this person over that person. This was not going to be a situation that I really thought that was going to happen. I did not think that they would swerve us and have Shayna go over. And they came close to convincing me during the match, even though I was confident it was going to be Ripley all the way. The way Ripley fought, the baby face just fighting so hard and so valiantly, they told the basic of basics here. If you're pick a body part and work that body part if you're a heel, and tell a story with your selling ability if you're a babyface. And that's what this entire match was. Rhea Ripley injured her arm. They even did a little doctor break there where the doctor came out and checked on her, and then Shayna just went to work on it. And Rhea told the story with her facial expression and her selling and, just her pain that was etched on her face and how hard she was fighting through and kicking out of everything, including DDTs on chairs. You had Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke coming out to interfere as well, and Rhea Ripley was able to fend them off, and she's finally locked in the Kirifuda clutch by Baszler, and she's in the middle of the ring, and that was the best part, the way she was just fighting like a badass, really making Rhea look like the true badass that she is, being able to roll out of that, and then Shayna is able to pull her back, I think more than once away from the ropes. Like Rhea is so close to the ropes, Baszler rolls her back into the middle of the ring. She fights again close to the ropes. Baszler pulls her back. I think she was in that thing for about a minute and a half, and she fought and she fought and she fought, powered her way out of it, and hit the big avalanche riptide from the second rope, putting Shayna down for the 1, 2, 3, winning the title. Crowd pops huge. She gets the big moment, the celebration. The entire NXT locker room empties out and comes out to celebrate with her. It was literally the exact moment I wanted. This is exactly what I wanted them to do. And it's nice when WWE finally gives you what you as a fan feels like makes sense. I mean, you guys have been watching my podcast and listening to me. How long have I been talking about this? I literally have not shut the fuck up about Rhea Ripley needs to win the NXT title in the main event of the December 18th show. And they took it one better, not only having her win, but doing it in badass fashion. Not a fluke, not a roll-up, nothing like that. She not only fended off Baszler's attack, she fended off Baszler's interference from her friends. She fought out of her finisher and beat her and put her down completely clean as a whistle. And that was the perfect story of the hero prevailing, the perfect story of when you build somebody to this point and then you get that payoff. And what I tried to tell the fans after this was like, what, wasn't that worth it? You know, I was bitching about everybody that constantly wanted Shayna Baszler to lose only because they're impatient. That's wrestling fans' biggest flaw, is that they are impatient with everything. They want what they want, and they want it yesterday. They don't want to wait, and they insist that it happens their way, and if any other way other than that happens, it's fucked up and bullshit. So damn impatient. This is what you build for. This is what patience, this was the result of patience. This was wrestling. This is exactly the type of story you want to tell and you want to see. And if Baszler would have just been dropping that belt left and right to Candice LeRae and Bianca Belair, it would have diminished this moment. If you're hot potatoing that belt around, because wrestling fans also like to treat that belt as a participation trophy, and they feel like every single piece of talent needs to have a taste of it, that's not reality. That's not the way reality works. It doesn't work that way. And if that belt was passed from Io Shirai to Bianca Belair to Candice LeRae back to Shayna Baszler and then Rhea Ripley defeats her here, yes, it would have still been an awesome moment, but not as awesome of a moment. It wouldn't have been a locker room emptying out moment for Rhea Ripley to finally be the person to dethrone Baszler, who held the title for over 600 days. It was well worth it to me. Every one of those 600 days that Baszler held the title was fine with me because it led to this. And it led to one of the coolest moments on NXT's TV. I mean, this could have been a TakeOver match. This could have been the final thing we saw at a TakeOver, and we got it completely for free on the USA Network, and I loved it. So, excellent show from NXT. Great way to close out the year. 2 big, huge title matches, and when you see what they do and the comparisons to AEW and what different shows they are, AEW, I think, does a lot better job of creating more like a well-rounded, all-around wrestling show with wacky, fun stuff, even some better character development, as crazy as that sounds, than NXT. You know, I like the aisleway interviews with Tony Schiavone and trying to get to know some of these talents. You don't see a ton of that in NXT, but NXT far outclasses AEW in the ring. You know, sorry, but when it comes down to just great in-ring wrestling, good, polished, pretty-looking matches, NXT does it head and shoulders better than AEW. Just my opinion. Sorry. So anyway, I thought NXT delivered on their promise, and I was excited for this show all week long, ever since the match was announced, and they gave me exactly what my little wrestling heart wanted. So I was very happy and very pleased with NXT. Incidentally, they scored 795,000 viewers this week for the show, outdoing AEW by about 100,000. AEW drew 683,000 in viewership. Now, there was a lot going on, too. A lot of excuses floating around there. The holidays, the impeachment, and all of that. That might be why both numbers are a little bit down, but I don't think it really affected who won. The better show won. NXT had more to offer this particular week than AEW. And in the ratings, I think it's 8-3. AEW's won 8 of the weeks in the ratings. NXT's won 3. As far as my personal head-to-head, I can't remember, but I probably have it more like AEW 6, NXT 3 or something like that. So it's not that one-sided in my own opinion. Some of the shows have been better on AEW and some of them have been better on NXT. But this week, I was all about NXT, and this was the show I wanted to watch. I even waited a couple of hours, went out to dinner and everything first before I even came back and checked out AEW. But we finally got a look at that later on, and this show was not... I thought AEW would basically, I don't want to say try harder. I mean, the show wasn't bad at all. I still enjoyed it. But I thought they would try to pull out a few more rabbits from their hat to try to compete with NXT, but maybe they knew it was going to be an uphill battle this week. I don't know. But we'll talk about AEW here in 1 second. Let me go knock out a couple more of these super chats that I think came in. One from Stone Cold, 10X. Thank you, buddy, for the $2. Glad to see you in here. There's news. Edge signed a new deal to wrestle. I saw that. I didn't put it in my notes because I didn't have time to research it and check any sources. But Edge has been rumored to be making a comeback ever since SummerSlam when he delivered a spear to Elias. And I've been worried about Saudi Arabia. I thought he was going to come back and have a match at Crown Jewel. He still might. You know, Edge would be a fun entrant in the Royal Rumble or something, I think. And if they wanted to have Edge have some sort of a match at WrestleMania, that would be fantastic. I really hope that if Edge has signed this new deal and it does include a match, that it doesn't happen at Crown Jewel or in Saudi Arabia. I just really don't want to see that. And based on everything that I've seen from Edge in interviews and podcasts, he doesn't sound like a guy that's really training to get back in the ring. But for him to come back and have one more match or maybe a couple of matches, I think would be all right. I'm glad that his health is at a point where wrestling would be safe for him, because it appeared back in 2011 that he had no choice but to retire. So for him to come back and maybe go out the right way and have a match, a final match that can be treated as one, you know, I think. Did he wrestle after he worked Alberto at WrestleMania? I think that was his last match, right? And then it was like the week after that he announced his retirement. So I think him being able to go out on his own terms might be fun. I hope that he does. I just hope it's not in Saudi Arabia. Oh, yeah, the Dark Order thing. Yeah, we're going to talk about that now. So AEW Dynamite this week was still a good show. They opened up. They tried to counter the Finn Balor and Adam Cole match with Adam Page and Kenny Omega taking on the Lucha Brothers. Now, Page and Omega have been teasing some dissension that started last week, and it's actually started, I think, they've planted seeds to this on being the Elite. So there's definitely something going on between these two guys. And then last week, Page blind tagged himself in, got the win. Omega was kind of looking at him funny. So they're really playing it up this week. They're making it very obvious that the two have got some problems. They're staring at each other, lots of blind tags throughout the match. It was a good match, but compared to Balor and Cole, I don't think it was nearly as good, but still good. They did the predicted and the obvious miscue. You knew that was coming. Page wound up hitting the buckshot lariat on Omega, and that allowed the Lucha Brothers to hit the package stomp pile driver thing on Omega and get the win. And Page and Omega are about to come to blows when Pac appears on the screen. He's calling out Omega, and that kind of distracts him and says that since Omega won't answer his challenge or whatever, he's going to have to do something violent. And he goes into Michael Nakazawa's locker room, and he's got the headphones in, and he doesn't see Pac coming, and Omega makes a dash for the locker room area, and then they go to commercial, and there's like a split screen, and it's something that I've seen every week on AEW lately, is that they're doing like major things during the split screens. They had the really funny thing here on Dynamite where they had Sammy Guevara come out and spoof the Love Actually movie with the cue cards and everything. That was fun, but way too many important things, I think, are happening during the split screen. The split screen should be reserved just for like a middle of a match when you have to do a commercial break and you can just show some rest holds or some action on the split screen. But don't do like storyline developing shit, because when you do go to commercial, that might be when somebody's flipping over to NXT. So I don't mind the split screen. I just don't think important things should happen during the commercial when you're watching AEW and it's silent, you can't hear anything, and you're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. I've seen way too much of that, and they did it here too. With the Pac and Omega thing, showing Omega running around looking for him and shit. So didn't really understand that. Good match with Darby Allin teaming up with Cody Rhodes. He's offered his services to help Cody Rhodes in his feud with the Butcher and the Blade. They got the win here. Now they're doing the thing where Darby says, look, Cody, I'll be your partner and I've got your back, but if we win this match, I want another shot at you. So Darby Allin wants another shot at wrestling Cody. They went Broadway in that match a few months back, and I guess Darby wants to prove himself, but if I was Darby, I'd be going after gold, not Cody. So for some reason, Darby wants another shot at Cody. So they have the match with the Butcher and the Blade. Many fans are criticizing the decision to have the Butcher and the Blade lose their second match. I get it, but, you know, that's kind of the way wrestling is now when the business moves so fast. It's a very WWE-like thing to do, and the Butcher and the Blade are new. We barely knew who the hell they were when they debuted and to begin with, so maybe not the best idea to have them lose here, but at the same time, it's not like they're the Authors of Pain or anything, and, you know, the Authors of Pain lost. They're just another tag team on the roster, so I'll let this one slide. I get it. I get the fans that criticize that completely. I totally understand. It's just, you know how I always preach pick your battles? This is a pick your battles type of thing for me. But Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes got the win, and that's primarily probably why Butcher and the Blade took the loss here, is because the story is Darby and Cody. Darby and Cody being successful means Darby gets another shot at Cody Rhodes, and that match has been made for January 1st. So that will be live on New Year's Day on AEW, and it'll be Cody versus Darby Allin, and I'm sure that one will be great. We had more Nightmare Collective bullshit with Brandy. Awesome Kong came out and destroyed a jobber. They cut the jobber's hair and all of that. So more of this shit with Brandy. She would be out there later on after Chris Statlander, who's really good. I've only gotten to see her the last couple of weeks, but she's very impressive. So Shayna, whoever that girl is. She defeated Britt Baker in a match, and Brandy Rhodes came out again. I think they came out there last week and tried to offer Chris Statlander a spot in the Nightmare Collective, and I guess she just hesitates or whatever, and in a hilarious move, something very reminiscent of TNT wrestling, Brandy Rhodes removes her high heel shoe and bashes Statlander right in the eye. Now, this was a big subject of mockery by WWE back in the billionaire Ted Skit days in WCW on Nitro, when they were doing the deal with Hogan and Savage and Flair and Miss Elizabeth, who had turned heel, I believe, around that time. And there was a big angle on Nitro where Hulk Hogan got hit in the eye with her high heel shoe, and they made such a big deal about it, and he was selling it like he had gotten shot in the head, and WWE was poking fun at it in the billionaire Ted skits, saying that Hogan was home convalescing from his recent assault from a high heel shoe. So the fact that high heel shoes are used as weapons on TNT wrestling all the time is pretty hilarious to me. So that was a nice little throwback to Nitro. So even though I think the Nightmare Collective is stupid, I cannot get into it. I'm really struggling to get into it, but who knows? Maybe it'll get better. I mentioned Sean Ross Sapp earlier on, who helped me out with the YouTube drama this week. He was tweeting AEW and Brandy Rhodes this week about getting his hair cut off on Dynamite. So don't be surprised if they pull him out there and cut his hair, and he joins this damn stable. I don't know, but I'm still not just that much of a fan of it. It's just cringy. Brandy is not that entertaining to me, even though I like Brandy very much. I'm just still not on board with this. That could change. We've seen this time and time again. We've seen lots of examples of this in wrestling where an angle starts off stupid as shit. One of the best examples of that in recent memory would probably be the New Day, where we got all of those vignettes and everything, and when they debuted, they were just lacking something missing. There was no connection with the audience at all. Audience didn't get it. They didn't understand it, and the whole thing was falling flat. But then they evolved and changed some things up and got it over. And we see that a lot. It's not just the New Day. It happens a lot. So maybe, just maybe, this Nightmare Collective thing can actually work. But right now, I'm not a fan. Shawn Spears, want to talk about him as well. He is now moving on, it looks like, from the singles ranks. They showed a promo with him and Tully Blanchard where he now wants a tag team partner. I found that interesting because Shawn Spears, since coming to AEW and since leaving WWE and being a single star, as much as I like him, as much as I thought Ty Dillinger was not properly utilized in WWE, he just doesn't speak main eventer to me. His feud with Cody was good, and I liked his alliance with Tully Blanchard, but I just don't see world title potential in this guy. I just never really did, even though I think he's a great worker and deserves spots on the card. He's a legitimately good professional wrestler, but there's something about him that just doesn't scream star. So when a guy like this is in WWE, of course, it's very easy to blame everything on WWE. If somebody's unsuccessful, WWE's not pushing him right. But really, if Ty Dillinger would have won the Intercontinental title or the U.S. title, would that really have made any difference? He's not going to be Roman Reigns. He's not going to be Seth Rollins. He was never going to be that in WWE. And now that he went to AEW, all the fans are like, oh, now he can finally reach his full potential. Well, guess what? I think he has reached his full potential. I think this is about as far as a guy like Shawn Spears can get. And I love him. Don't get me wrong. I'm not shitting on him at all. He's a tremendous talent. If I was an up-and-coming wrestler, I'd ask that dude to train me, okay? He's got plenty of tools, plenty of ability, knows what he's doing. Not a bad-looking wife either, or girlfriend. So I like him. It's just I didn't think that just because he left WWE, that automatically was going to make him a star. There's only a certain amount of guys that can really do that. I think Moxley's going to be a big deal, but I'm not sure about Shawn Spears. I'm not sure about Jake Hager. I'm not sure about a lot of guys that might jump and go over there. So now it looks like there's not a whole lot for him to do in the singles ranks. So it looks like he's going to be forming a tag team. And I want suggestions because, your finger is on the pulse of this probably more than mine. Who's his tag team partner going to be? Is it going to be somebody currently in AEW that might be floundering as well? Is it going to be somebody whose contract is upcoming? Is it going to be a new face? Who's out there that they could bring in that would make a suitable tag team partner for Shawn Spears? And if they're going to be together and managed by Tully Blanchard, I think Tully would be a great manager for the fucking Revival if they can get their asses over there, since they resemble so much of Tully and Arn. But Shawn's new partner, they're going to be in the tag team division now. I don't know. It could be anybody. There is one potential person that could be his partner that I think might be fun. And that's who I'm going to talk about here in a second, and that is Christopher Daniels. Now, I said a couple of weeks ago, right after Daniels was attacked in the aisleway by the Lucha Brothers. Remember? He was attacked, knocked out of action for a couple of weeks. He came back dressed as Pentagon, right? Made his big return. And then I think the week after that is when he took the botch off the top rope. As soon as he was attacked in that aisleway, I thought that he might turn heel. I actually thought he might turn heel and cost SCU the tag team titles in the tournament, but he didn't. He came back, he rejoined the group, and he's been with them. But with everything that they're doing, and most recently on Dynamite, they showed that promo backstage with the Lucha Brothers and Daniels, and they're talking about his botch, which now it makes it look like that botch was planned. He didn't really fall off there. Either that or they're turning it into a storyline, one or the other. So talking about his botch, he kind of walks away. I feel like I'm smelling it here, and I thought we might even see a heel turn by Daniels on Wednesday, but we didn't. So anyway, I'm getting my head of myself here, but he could be an option maybe for Shawn Spears, or a better option for Daniels would be to join the Dark Order. That's what I thought was going to happen this past Wednesday when the main event saw the Young Bucks versus SCU. SCU got the victory. I thought maybe since Rhea Ripley was going to be winning the main event, or winning the title in the main event in NXT, they might want to put the Bucks over. This big, huge, decorated tag team, one of the most famous in the world, finally have them win the tag team titles in the main event of their show to combat that, but they didn't. SCU got the win, and that's when the Dark Order swarm the ring. All the masked dudes get in there. Evil Uno is in a suit, and he gets on the mic, and he cuts a promo. You had all sorts of guys running out there to help. Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, Dustin Rhodes, and Christopher Daniels. I thought for sure Daniels would have been one of the guys under the mask. But instead, it was Alex Reynolds and John Silver who were kind of going through their initiation. So they removed their masks to reveal it's them. And I thought for sure one of them might be Daniels. But Daniels hits the ring and actually fights off the Dark Order with everybody else. But eventually, the Dark Order overcomes, and they beat down everybody. They even do this really nasty thing where Evil Uno reaches in, I think it's Matt Jackson, and kind of like rips his mouth, and there's blood coming out of his mouth and the whole deal. And they're all sitting there posing in the end. And it was maybe better. I mean, the Dark Order, like I mentioned with the Nightmare Collective, how bad it is. I thought the Dark Order from their debut up until everything they've done recently has been really bad. But finally, I'm starting to say, okay, I'll give it a chance. I'm not going to abandon this idea yet. I do like the masked guys just kind of attacking, because you leave so much potential for surprises when you have masks involved and stuff. And who knows, and I think Evil Uno is very good on the mic as well. So this whole thing might wind up getting over in the long run, and I'm willing to give it a chance. Excuse me. But I think Daniels turning heel and being a part of this group might be really good for him, because he's getting old. I mean, Daniels is in his mid-40s. He's not exactly in the position to be throwing moonsaults and planches and topes and all that shit anymore. And he might have to, kind of venture down the similar path of his Dark Angel character or whatever. So or the Fallen Angel. So if he goes back to something like that and joins the Dark Order, that could be fun. I just smell a heel turn for him, and I think it's going to happen. So what he does is still, up for debate. I'd be happy to listen to you guys' suggestions in the comments there. But there's more to this story, though. This whole final segment with the Dark Order and the Bucks and SCU and everybody took on a life of its own this week on social media when a video surfaced, I think the very next day, of the big brawl. That's when the Dark Order guys are just beating the shit out of all the baby faces. And there's this video, this close-up that's showing one of the guys, one of the masked wrestlers, on top of Dustin Rhodes, hitting Dustin with punches. And it's like the worst thing you've ever seen. He's missing on every single one of them. He's just barely touching him. His arm's going right over Dustin's head, almost hitting the mat. And there's no way you have not seen this. You guys have all seen the video, right? So that almost went viral. People were using it as ammunition to attack AEW. Oh, look at these guys. Look at this fucking bullshit on this show. And there's a lot of people that clearly have biased towards AEW and are using this as some sort of a reason why they're not going to succeed and why they're not going to make it. And when you see the video, it's embarrassing. It's extremely embarrassing. It's gotten comments from Mark Henry in WWE. Randy Orton called it the drizzling shits, which in wrestling, there's no other kind of shits, apparently, other than the drizzling shits. If it's a hard shit, is it better? I don't know. Anyway, Randy Orton commented on it, Mark Henry commented on it, and Dustin Rhodes tweeted out his disappointment. And because you don't really know who was on him, there was 100 masked guys in there, and Dustin didn't even know who it was. Well, finally, independent wrestler Eric Cannon came forward earlier today or yesterday or whatever it was on Twitter and said, look, guys, it was me. I'm sorry. I was just trying to protect Dustin. I respect him. He's a veteran. He was already bleeding, and I was just trying to be careful, which to me seems like a reasonable excuse. You know, I mean, think about it. If you're a young wrestler, chances are you're a fan. Chances are you have a lot of memories of Dustin Rhodes and his career and his father and his family and everything. I would not want to hurt one of my idols either. And I also find it odd that even though the punches did suck and they did look like absolute shit, and when that happens, you deserve to be called out and you need to fix that and make it look better. So he had every right to be called out. Dustin should have talked to him backstage, or they should have, management should have talked to him or whatever. Agents, producers, anything. He needs to be called out for it and understand that you're on national TV. That's not okay. Or you're on cable television. You got to tighten up some of those punches. But are we going to sit here and pretend that we don't see equally as bad shit every single week on Botchamania? And I'm not talking about indie wrestling. If you're wrestling in a bar in front of 16 people, then botches are going to happen, no big deal. I'm talking WWE. Hell, even NXT. There was a women's match just a few weeks ago on NXT. It was, oh my God, Tanara Conti and somebody else. And it really looked like they were rehearsing in the ring in the Performance Center in front of no fans. They were just going through the motions. It looked like two 5-year-olds wrestling in their living room. It was horrible. And it looked every bit as bad as that guy throwing those punches on Dustin Rhodes. You can watch pay-per-views, Raws, SmackDowns, men's and women's matches across a lot of WWE, and we see equally as bad shit. So I'm not giving the dude a pass. What he did sucked, and he deserved to have some veterans calling him out. But for it to go viral the way it did, it really shows you how many people really, truly want AEW to fail. That's what I learned from that video. Because even though it sucked, and I'm not absolving the kid of anything, of throwing shitty-ass punches, but it really illustrated to me that there are people that just want AEW to fail. People might claim that they don't. They might claim that they don't, but they do. It's 100% obvious. The person that fucking tweeted that, you could tell, that he clearly has a problem. He or she clearly has a problem with AEW. They don't want them to succeed. They don't like their fans, and they're using everything that they can possibly find as ammunition. And we're going to sit here and pretend that we don't see botches just as bad in WWE or anywhere else. So botches are never fun. Botches can be cringy and embarrassing and all of that. But this particular one being so viral, to me, was a little bit absurd. It was just like the week before. It was Sammy Guevara, remember? Doing the shooting star press, and all the fans were like, oh, it looked like he was just jumping into nothing or whatever. Do we want to pick apart every single little match in WWE? Because I'm sure we can find plenty of stuff to say, oh my God, that looked like shit. How can anybody believe that? Case in point, Rusev and Lana and Lashley storyline. How is that any fucking better? That's just as bad as any botch that I would see on AEW. So, to Eric Cannon, I am giving you a pass, dude. Tighten them punches up. You've obviously learned from your mistake. I seriously doubt now that this has gone viral and you've had wrestling veterans calling you out, you've learned your lesson, and we should not ever expect that from him again. So in a way, it's good because I expect more from him now in the future. He's not going to be dumb enough to throw punches like that ever again. He's gonna make his shit look better. Otherwise he's gonna get embarrassed. So he came forward, which is great. At least he didn't try to hide it because he was under a mask. He could have just pretended, no, it wasn't me. But he came forward on Twitter and said, look, it was me. I was just trying to protect him. I'm sorry that everybody thinks I'm the worst fucking wrestler in the world now, but it's just what I did. So anyway, I don't think the kid deserved nearly as much heat as he got. Yeah, it was bad, but we see a lot of bad shit in wrestling. I mean, whenever we watch wrestling, you see botches, you see stuff that looks so horribly bad and fake. It makes you uncomfortable, not just in AEW, across the board. Speaking of social media and crazy things happening in AEW, the Young Bucks have deleted their Twitter accounts. I think it was Matt Jackson, one of them, tweeted out that after 10 years on this site, it's just become too much for them, so they're finally leaving. You can catch me on Being the Elite. And both Bucks deleted Twitter. Now, I'm immediately saying that I'm skeptical here. They've been getting a shit ton of criticism online. Oh, they've got thin skin. They can't handle the criticism, so they're just getting rid of Twitter. I think there's more to it than that. I think this is like maybe storyline. I think maybe the Bucks could be joining the Dark Order. Don't forget the Dark Order tore them down on Wednesday night, ripped open Matt Jackson's mouth and blood and everything. Maybe like whatever's going on with the Dark Order have gotten inside their head and they're deleting Twitter. And last I checked on Matt Jackson's Twitter account anyway, it was still up. It's just the tweets weren't loading. So it's not like it's gone completely. So I don't know what the real reason behind it is, but I am kind of skeptical that it's all kind of a work and the Young Bucks will not be permanently gone from Twitter. I think the Young Bucks owe a lot of their popularity to social media and word of mouth and these snarky wrestling fans that say, oh, real wrestling is on in Ring of Honor and the Indies and you got teams like the Young Bucks, all those type of fans, right? The Young Bucks owe a lot of their popularity to social media and the social media pro wrestling internet community. And yeah, Twitter's toxic. Yeah, fans are fucking dumbasses and they just spew out insane criticisms left and right. And I'm sure it takes a toll on stars from time to time. Lots of guys like Seth Rollins and others have deleted their Twitter, at least temporarily. And Mauro Ranallo even most recently. So the Bucks doing this, I do not expect them to be gone from Twitter forever. I expect this to be tied into some maybe storyline. I'm not sure, but I think they'll be back. And I'm not going to jump down their throats either, saying, oh, you're a snowflake? No, just give it a minute. They'll probably be back. Don't be so eager to get worked, basically is all I'm saying. So that's pretty much it for AEW and all my notes there. We'll talk a little bit about SmackDown and the Wrestle Kingdom card. But before we do that, let me knock out some super chats. I've been seeing them come through here in the peripherals. Where'd you go? Here's one here from Stone Cold 10X again. Thank you, brother, for the $5. I appreciate it. The problem I have with AEW is all the stars keep losing. All the big names, it's hard to find someone to get behind. Well, yeah, I guess I see what you're saying because, there's the win-loss records. And when you look at AEW's roster, you have to have a roster big enough to supply the demand of a weekly television show. So when you only have a handful of guys, the Omegas, Moxley, Cody, I'd probably throw Pac in there. Hangman and Jericho might be your top 6? I might be missing somebody. But, it's not like, WWE just has more stars. And I said this too, that when AEW started, don't be surprised that as time goes on, a lot of the very same complaints that you hear fans complain about WWE, you see the same stuff from AEW. You're going to see that same stuff from a lot of wrestling companies because it's kind of unavoidable. And one of the things that's unavoidable is the pace of the business, how fast everything moves. You have a weekly television show. So to your point, Stone Cold, you don't want the main stars losing all the time, but you don't want squash matches or enhancement matches all the time either. You don't want every match. You want competitive matches. You don't want Cody just wrestling an undercard guy where he beats him, or Pac or Omega or Page doing the same thing. They're going to have to lose some matches. It's okay to lose some matches. And I think a lot of times when fans assume that another company will do things better than WWE, they're finding out now that AEW is going to have the same type of problems. Like what I mentioned earlier with the Butcher and the Blade. Oh my God, I can't believe they lost their second match. That's some complaints we always hear about WWE. All the fans complain about WWE not making sense and how right all these other wrestling companies how they can get it right and WWE can't. And here you see that that's not necessarily true. You get a big wrestling company with a weekly television show that's 2 hours long and a limited finite members of their roster, you can only do so much. So I haven't really had that much of an issue yet with the talent that's losing matches in AEW. Really hasn't bothered me. Some of the matches, I've been surprised that some guys are dropping them. But I like the win-loss because it allows for redemption stories. Omega got off to that slow start, and now Adam Page, I think, is on the verge of a heel turn, which I think might be fun. You had Jericho dropping a couple of matches, Pac after getting off to a hot start, and Moxley. Actually, Moxley is not lost, right? But Pac has. So I'm actually all right with the way it's flowing so far, but I kind of see, what you're getting at there. But I think it's still okay to find someone to get behind. You can still find someone to get behind that loses. It's okay. They don't have to win all the time. Sir Darko, thank you, dude, for the $5. I appreciate it. It looks like you hit me with another one underneath that, so I'll answer both of these. Who was the last superstar you have popped for a title win? Because now WWE doesn't really make storylines that get people invested to that point. Well, the last superstar to have me popped me for a title win was just on Wednesday, like a couple of days ago, not even that long ago. So Rhea Ripley, I went apeshit over her. Prior to her, I enjoyed both of Seth's title wins over Brock, just because I was tired of Brock. So I'd probably count that. But other than that, I don't know. Winning the title, probably Kevin Owens and Finn Balor. Finn Balor at SummerSlam, and then Kevin Owens after Balor got hurt and Triple H came and helped him out. Popped for those. But I see what you're saying. In general, you don't get that same feeling as you would back in the day at a WrestleMania that's headlined by The Rock or Stone Cold or Triple H or whatever. It's different. I understand that totally. And your next Super Chat question, thanks for the $2. Roman to cost Corbin the match to continue feud. What match? Yeah, Roman and Corbin, I'm worried, are going to continue their feud, but this past week on SmackDown, like I'm going to talk about in a minute, Corbin was involved with Daniel Bryan and The Miz, but the Roman and Corbin issue clearly is not over, and I wouldn't be surprised if that, oh my God, do you think that will be the match on the New Year's Eve shit? Roman and Corbin? Probably will. That'll suck. All right, that knocks out the Super Chats there. Let's talk a little bit about SmackDown. Eyeballed this show. It was okay. Nothing too great, though. About the show, though. Daniel Bryan and The Miz opened up with a promo. Daniel Bryan is out there first. Miz comes out later. They are not really getting along, but they're, trying to fight, the same battle here. Corbin and Ziggler come out. Corbin comes out first, talks shit on the mic. Ziggler attacks Daniel Bryan from behind, and then Corbin attacks The Miz, and the two of them lay out Miz and Daniel Bryan. So then Miz and Daniel Bryan are going to have to team up in the main event to take on Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler. Miz and Bryan get the win here, despite the fact that they're not totally on the same page yet. Feels like they're getting there. It feels like they're reluctantly becoming closer and closer, and I think eventually you will see the two come together. And it was a pretty good finish with, I think, Bryan hitting the running knees and then skull-crushing finale? I think it was skull-crushing finale by The Miz on to Ziggler, and then Bryan hitting the running knees on Corbin to fend off breaking up the 3 count, and that was kind of the ending there. And then after the match, the light goes off, and you hear The Fiend laughing with Daniel Bryan and The Miz in the ring. So they've kind of teamed up here against this common enemy, The Fiend, who's gone after The Miz's family. Now he's gone after Daniel Bryan, tearing his hair out. Very cool to see Daniel Bryan sporting his American Dragon look, his 2011 WWE look. He's definitely aged a little bit. He doesn't look exactly like he did in 2011, but really interesting to see him go with that short hair. And that was the whole point of The Fiend ripping out his beard and his hair and all of that. So he looks good. I guess I always liked bearded, long-haired Daniel Bryan, but I can get used to this. We'll see where it goes. And hopefully one day, The Miz and Daniel Bryan can form the bromance that we're all waiting for, and maybe eventually we'll get another wedding on WWE TV. I'm just kidding. But as far as where Daniel Bryan and The Fiend go from here, I don't know if they can really stretch out another match all the way until the Royal Rumble between these two. That leaves a lot of TV in between and a lot of story to tell there. It almost might be too much time. So I don't know. Do you guys think they can make it that long, or do we have to knock that match out earlier? But based on the fact that The Miz is getting involved now, I think there's enough mileage in there to stretch it out that long, especially if you wanted to maybe do a triple threat. The Miz, Bryan, and The Fiend, where Miz and Bryan actually, kind of team up in the match, try to eliminate him so they can just fight each other. I don't know. It might be a situation like that. But in the end, I think The Fiend needs to keep the title. I think The Fiend needs to remain WWE champion heading into WrestleMania to face whoever he's going to face. But definitely not time for him to drop it yet. And I guess everything going on right now with The Miz and Daniel Bryan is just time killing until we get to WrestleMania. Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you, Sir Darko, for 2 more super chats there. They announced Triple Threat Bryan vs. Miz vs. Corbin. When is that? Next week? Number 1 contenders match. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So, yeah, Bryan and Miz are going to be opponents now. That'll probably take place next week. Okay, so then they'll do the match. Then they'll get the number 1 contender. And maybe you can actually make this last until the Royal Rumble. It might actually work. I was unaware of that. I really watched the Cliff's Notes version of SmackDown last night, did not watch it straight through. Just didn't have time. Too much wrestling to watch. Too much going on. I worked late. Plus, I had to get ready for this podcast today. So I was kind of watching YouTube clips, reading results, shit like that, and I totally missed that match being announced. So thank you for that, Sir Darko. I appreciate it. I mentioned Sasha Banks earlier on because I wanted to talk about her. Bayley defeated Dana Brooke in a match. That match was set up backstage earlier on. After the match, Lacey Evans comes out and challenges Sasha Banks to a match right there. So I think they go to commercial, they come back, we've got Lacey versus Sasha. Now, the story of this match was that Lacey Evans' daughter was in the front row. I don't know if it was Lacey's husband or who the fuck was with her, but she's being held by some dude. And the match spills onto the outside of the ring, and Sasha starts taunting Lacey Evans' daughter. And this little thing, so fucking cute. What a great actor she was. I mean, she's going, Mom, and she's got a growling, look on her face and a grimace, and she's trying to throw a punch at Sasha Banks. She is 100 times better actor than Lana. The Miz's daughter and Lacey Evans' daughter are both phenomenal actresses. Excellent job, little girl. I don't know what her name is. Don't know how old she is, but she did great. She's got curly hair, blonde hair, looks a lot like her mom, and just a really cool segment. I thought the kid did well. What did AEW do that made me so mad? I forgot. Shit. What was that? Oh, I think it was the Jungle Boy. Oh, I didn't even talk about the Jungle Boy match. Shit, I'm sorry. I feel like an idiot. I completely glossed over the Jungle Boy and Jericho match in AEW, so we're going to circle back to that in a minute. But one of the things that annoyed me about the Jungle Boy and Jericho match is that they had Jungle Boy's sister and mother in the front row, and they had no idea how to sell anything that was going on in the ring. They were just smiling and laughing. There was a point where Jungle Boy was getting his ass kicked, and the two of them are on the outside of the ring laughing their ass off. And I was getting mad. I was yelling at the TV. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? I understand that you don't know. You're not a regular wrestler. You're not an on-air talent. You're just a wrestler's family member. But an agent, producer, somebody, cameraman needs to go over to you and try to say, hey, pretend that you're worried about your son and your brother. Just pretend. Can you at least do that? Just have a Britt Baker, famously, do one of these. Do one of those things while Jungle Boy's getting his ass kicked. But even when he was getting beaten down, the idiot AEW production team would cut to them to show them laughing and having a great time at ringside. This is your family member getting his ass kicked. What's wrong with you? So that was so poorly done, and those were adults. And then you fast forward to SmackDown, and look at how well this little girl handled herself, because she probably did have a lot of coaching from her mom or from the producers to say, okay, this is all a show. Mommy's not really getting hurt. But when Sasha gets in your face, act really mad at her. Even a fucking 4-year-old kid can understand that. But somehow Jungle Boy's family couldn't. So that's not all their fault. They're not used to being on TV. You can't criticize them, but you can definitely criticize AEW for not being on top of that better. And WWE puts a 4-year-old in their audience, and she does a hell of a lot better job than grown-ass adults. So that's one awesome thing that I liked about SmackDown, was just to see how well Lacey Evans' daughter, performed in that little skit. All I heard was the bell ring. I have no idea what the finish of this match was. No contest, double countout, DQ, or what. But when Sasha is out there taunting Lacey's daughter, the bell just rings, and that's it. So not much to say there other than Lacey Evans' daughter did great. We had Carmella tapping out Sonya Deville. That surprised me in a match, so whatever there. The New Day took on Cesaro and Nakamura in a tag team match and defeated them. Now, what was interesting about this is that after the match, the New Day's attacked by Sammy, Cesaro, and Nakamura, and Braun Strowman comes out to make the save and battles with Nakamura for a little bit. So what this tells me is that Braun Strowman might finally be on the road to his first ever singles gold. Who thinks they're going to put the IC title on Strowman? I do. Seems obvious to me this dude could not win the world title. We've been complaining about his usage for so long. He's morphing into the Big Show 2.0 with being the go-to guy to work with every celebrity at every show. And now, much like the Big Show, probably going to be given a run with the Intercontinental title. So I guess that's better than nothing, much like Seth likely winning the U.S. title at some point on Raw. You put the Intercontinental title on Braun Strowman, the new Intercontinental title, the new look belt on Strowman, and, I'll give it a shot. So I fully expect at some point Strowman to get the title match and Strowman to win the title. If he doesn't, what the fuck are you doing with Strowman? I mentioned the Revival earlier on. They had a match with Heavy Machinery, and this was one of those stupid Christmas-themed matches that WWE does every year. This one is a Miracle on 34th Street fight, which I think they've done before. There's Christmas trees, there's pleasant presents, all sorts of holiday-themed shit at ringside, and there's also been talk about the Revival. Since their contract is coming up soon, WWE is doing everything they can to take a big, steaming shit on their face. And it looks like they're going to be becoming this comedy type of duo, this comedy team we saw last week on SmackDown. One of them tripped over the entrance as they were coming out, making their entrance, just fell down like an asshole. So it looks like they're trying to turn them into a comedy team and just diminish them before they go to AEW. They're going to try to make them look so bad before they go over there, simply because they don't want to re-sign their contracts and they don't want to work for a company that doesn't know what the fuck to do with them. And that sucks. So naturally, they lost. Heavy Machinery beat both of them. They did a thing where Mandy Rose backstage gave a ham, like a Christmas ham, to Otis, and he's very happy about it. And I think she even kissed him on the cheek, and so he's very excited, but for some reason he brings the ham. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. He brings the ham to ringside. The ham gets damaged. We got damaged ham at ringside on SmackDown, but nonetheless, Heavy Machinery pick up the victory anyway. But after the match, Otis has the damaged ham. He's very worried about the ham, and it shows him carrying it backstage, and he runs into Mandy, and he goes, I'm sorry, the ham broke. I shouldn't have brought it out there. And she's like, oh, it's okay. And she gives him a hug, but when she hugs his big, giant, gross, greasy, sweaty body, he leaves a stain all over her nice dress, and she kind of walks away, and it was all awkward. So poor Otis. But getting back to the Revival, I think it's after the match, after this Miracle on 34th shit happens, they're out there on the mic complaining about it, and that's when Elias comes out and sings a song about the two of them, shitting on them some more. So it looks like WWE is going to do everything in their power to treat these guys like a pile of pig shit. And just a little while ago, on Twitter today, Scott Dawson tweeted out a pic of the Revival and Private Party, which was cool, and that picture was retweeted by Sasha. Now, I mentioned the women earlier on. We always talk about men's contracts and who could be jumping to AEW and this and that, and we know Sasha Banks has got time left on her deal and all of that. She can't really leave, but I would not be surprised if there are a handful of women that are disgruntled as well and would love to get the hell out of there as soon as they can. One person that I thought would want to was Dana Brooke, but she just re-signed a new 5-year deal. She's been a jobber ever since she's been there, but, WWE might be a better place for her, but if she went to AEW, she could probably be a pretty big contender over there. So that's the deal with the women's division of WWE. Does have a few women that they're not treating right, and right now you look at Sasha retweeting that pic, and she was kind of humiliated, and she's been getting her ass kicked by Lacey Evans the past couple of weeks on SmackDown, and almost got punched in the face by a 4-year-old. She might be disgruntled and be fed up with the way she's being used. So she's lashing out by retweeting pictures of AEW guys and stuff. Might be her little way of voicing her displeasure. So she's already took some time off. She took a long time off from the company before returning. Who's to say she's all fine and hunky-dory now? She might still be a little bit bothered by her usage, or maybe she thinks she deserves better or whatever, and she might still want out. She just can't go anywhere until her contract is up. So I've been thinking about the women a lot lately, and when I saw Scott Dawson tweet out that picture earlier on today, I loved that. At this point, I want them out of there. I don't want them to resign. I don't want them to do what Mike Kanellis did and ask for his release and then re-sign a 5-year deal. If the Revival sign a 5-year deal, their tag team career is dead. They need to get the hell out of there, and I would love for them to go to AEW and really beef up that tag team division. I think WWE's got some good teams as well, but they have such a vastly superior women's division. What AEW should do is try to have a vastly superior tag team division, because at least they would have that going for them. And adding Scott Dawson to the already loaded division, or Dawson and Wilder to the tag team division, would be a huge upgrade and would make their roster look pretty damn strong. Now, I sincerely apologize. When I was blowing through all my AEW notes, I don't know how I forgot to talk about Chris Jericho and Jungle Boy. So we're going to circle all the way back to AEW, and let me just knock out that really quick. Jericho and Jungle Boy was a 10-minute time limit match. Basically, all Jungle Boy had to do was last. And this was extremely predictable, because we've seen these matches a lot throughout the course of history in wrestling. 5-minute time limit, 10-minute time limit, and one guy just has to last. Every single time they do one of these things, the dude lasts. Every time. Nobody ever not lasts. So this was going to happen here. You knew Jungle Boy would survive. They get to about 8.5 minutes in, and Jericho puts Jungle Boy in the walls of Jericho, and Jungle Boy does not submit. He sits there screaming, and that, I think, was one of the points when the camera cut to his family, and he's in the walls of Jericho, and his mom's, like, laughing. So just horrible all around there. But Jungle Boy put on a good showing. He's got a lot of talent, a lot of athletic ability, really good look. I think he's going to grow, too. I think he'll get bigger in size as he goes and continues to work out and everything and becomes more of an athlete, because the dude is super athletic, and it was a good outing by him. And it got him over in the sense that he didn't submit. He lasted the 10 minutes. Jericho threw a temper tantrum out on the outside of the ring, even demanded 5 more minutes, which never happened. Shivani tried to interview Jericho on the stage, and Jericho got pissed, saying that he won. And Shivani's like, look, you didn't really win. You said that he couldn't last, and he did. And Jericho's, no, I won. Shut up, I won. So he's fucking furious. Temper tantrum, the whole deal. Then calls out Jon Moxley, who we know Jericho offered a spot to in the Inner Circle last week on Dynamite, and said Moxley has until January 1st, or he wants Moxley's answer on January 1st, but this is so fucking dumb because we already know what Moxley's answer is going to be. He ain't joining the Inner Circle. Jericho and Moxley will be your next title feud. So I really don't like that whole thing, that Jericho's offering him a spot and he wants his answer. Like, us as wrestling fans are going to sit here in suspense. Oh my God, I wonder what Moxley's going to do. We know what he's going to do. And speaking of Moxley, he's got a match and possibly 2 matches coming up at Wrestle Kingdom, which I'll preview that card in just 1 second. Let me cruise back over here to the chat. Can y'all do me a favor and click that little thumbs up button for me? We have a little bit better of an audience in here now of about 170 people, but it was bleak prior to that. Okay, cool. I think I knocked all of these out. Yeah, I see. Yeah, the commercial during the Jericho promo. Like I said, I like the Sammy Guevara stuff and the cue cards and all of that. That was fun. When is The Undertaker's next match? I don't know. It might be WrestleMania against Sting. That's a whole nother can of worms we have to open up here. But we've got Wrestle Kingdom coming up on January 4th and 5th. It's a 2-night event, and I wanted to update the card here in my notes so we could talk a little bit about it. And man, I'm looking forward to this. And for me here in California, this starts, I think, at like midnight. So I'll be able to work. I'll come home. I'll stay up all night and watch both of these shows. It's going to be fun. I'm not going to run through every match, just some of the notables. So on night 1, that's the night that we have the big Kazuchika Okada and Kota Ibushi IWGP title match. That one's going to be great. I can't wait for that. I feel like it's going to be Ibushi's night, just given the style that this guy works and how crazy he is. If you're going to make him a world champ, you better do it now before he is confined to a bed for the rest of his life. And I think now's the time to do it before, any more time passes. Okada's been the proven guy, and New Japan's lost a lot in the last, year with Kenny Omega and the Bucks and a lot of guys that were working over there, not really having matches, although Moxley and Jericho are both booked for this event. But I think you need another big-time contender, big-time player, and Ibushi is the guy, and I'm rooting for him. So I hope he wins the title. We have Jon Moxley getting another shot at the U.S. title that was stripped off of him when he was unable to make the King of the Pro Wrestling show a few months back when they had the Typhoon. So they had to strip him of the title. So he is now going to get a shot at current United States champion Lance Archer And Moxley's going to be back in Japan working a match, so that's kind of cool. We've got an intercontinental title match, Jay White defending the title against Naito. That's going to be fucking fun. We've got Will Ospreay versus Takahashi for the light heavyweight title, and we've got Jushin Thunder Liger in an 8-man tag, and this is his retirement weekend. On night 2 is when we have that Liger retirement match. It's going to be a tag match. It will be his final match, and that'll be awesome. That'll be emotional. I think it's awesome the way they announced it like a year ago, and he had this big, long retirement, year-long tour building to this final weekend, and it's finally here. Even with the recent matches he's had with Minoru Suzuki, which was so great, and the show of respect and everything. I love the whole year of them building to this, and it's going to be an emotional night for, especially Japanese fans that have watched this guy for so many years, and he's finally hanging them up. So that's going to be taking place on night 2. Night 2 is also where we get Chris Jericho's match. He's going to be taking on Tanahashi. That will be fun. I'm really curious. I don't think he's going to bring the AEW title with him, but it would be cool if he did. And we also have a U.S. title match booked for that show, which I like. It's going to be the winner of Jon Moxley and Lance Archer taking on Juice Robinson. Now, what I hope happens here is that Moxley wins the title on night 1, but then drops it on night 2, because he was supposed to defend against Juice Robinson at the King of Pro Wrestling show, but he couldn't make the show due to the typhoon. And I put on Twitter when that happened that I was disappointed, because I thought that was going to be a big win for Juice Robinson. That was going to be a big feather in his cap. Moxley was going to be working primarily in AEW. He was the U.S. champion. They needed to get that belt off of him. And I felt like the typhoon cost Juice Robinson a big victory and a big feather in his cap. Now they have a chance to do it anyway. Now they have the chance to still give that to us. So I hope Moxley beats Archer, which I think he will, and then he drops the belt to Juice the next night. That's actually what I want to see happen there. And Juice Robinson's come a long way. I'm pretty sure it was him. He was CJ Parker in NXT, right? I'm pretty sure it was Juice who had like Roman Reigns' first match in NXT. So there's a lot of history there and tie-in with him and Moxley and the Shield and all that stuff. And since Juice lost his opportunity to beat Moxley a while back, I hope that he gets that chance again and wins the belt on night 2. I'm looking forward to Zack Sabre Jr. and Sonata as well for the British heavyweight title. And then, of course, we have the loser of Kota Ibushi and Okada taking on the loser of Jay White and Naito. And we also have the winners of those two matches facing each other. So you got the two losers and the two winners facing on night 2. So the two cards look spectacular. And I'm only a casual observer of the New Japan product. I'm a subscriber to New Japan World, but I only have so much time in a week, so I'm not able to watch it all the time. So some of you might be a little bit more knowledgeable with the product than me. But I feel like it's like Ibushi's got a legit likely shot to win the title. Right? I think so. So what do y'all think? Y'all agree? Yeah, both cards for both nights look good. I'm really excited for Wrestle Kingdom this year. It'll be my third Wrestle Kingdom event. I bought the pay-per-view a few years back when Jericho had his match with Omega, or I bought or subscribed, I should say, to New Japan World during the Jericho and Omega match, and I've kept it ever since, and it's been an excellent little thing to have on my computer here to be able to check out. So I will be staying up late all night. I will not be live streaming that. I think I did live stream the first Wrestle Kingdom that I watched in the middle of the night, which was tough to do, tough to stay awake for. So I will not be live streaming, but I'll definitely be tweeting and hanging out and all of that. So that's going to be a really fun way to kick off 2020 with a phenomenal looking Wrestle Kingdom card. I am excited. I think that reaches the culmination and the end of my notes. Let's hang out here and chat a little bit with you guys and see if there's anything you want to get into. Yeah, Ibushi new champ for sure. That's what I'm thinking. What are you saying, Beetle 911? Wait, is the Jericho Cruise really 1.5K? What do you mean 1.5K? You mean the cost of the cruise? Yeah, it's close to that. I think we paid $1,000 each for our room, I think. Yeah, plus airfare. It ain't cheap, but it's going to be fun as shit, and I am ready for the cruise, and that is coming up so soon. I got to figure out what I'm going to do on that cruise. I definitely want to film some stuff or whatever. I might just have to take a bunch of footage and then upload something when I get home. If there's any way for me to do any sort of a live stream on the cruise, I definitely will do it. We've got a lot of AEW matches taking place on the cruise. Solomonster, Jason Solomon is going to be on the cruise as well. I would love to get together with him and maybe film a little something for you guys. I think that would be really good for the community. But if not, it'll just be a fun week of hanging out with people, drinking beer, meeting all sorts of wrestling fans, meeting wrestlers, and having a blast. There's a lot of festivities planned, lots of live podcasts, lots of live music, lots of meet and greets. I'm definitely taking some of my title belts. I've got the Intercontinental title, the Winged Eagle title, and the WCW television title in the background. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to take, but I've really been thinking about taking the TV title and having Jericho sign it, because that was one of the first titles he held in WCW, and I think he'd be a great signature to have on the TV title. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash are going to be on the boat as well, so I could get the IC belt signed by one or both, or even the Winged Eagle by Nash. I would love it if Bret Hart could sign my Winged Eagle. I might hold out for Bret, but I don't really want to take all three belts because that's going to be way too heavy in my suitcase. So I got to think about what to do, what to take if I want to get anything signed. But I'm definitely taking at least one championship belt with me. There's a costume contest. My girlfriend is dressing up like Bret Hart. She's already got the belt. She's got the kids' Winged Eagle. She's got the shades. We just need to find her a leather jacket. I have no idea what I'm going to dress up as. Probably Gilbert, but we'll see. All in all, it's going to be a fun fucking weekend, and I cannot wait. And if any of you guys are going, let me know. We'll hang out. We'll have a good time. We'll have a drink or 7. Should be a lot of fun. Oh, yeah, I did see Colt Cabana was on AEW Dark. Colt Cabana, I think, has also taken a job as a producer in AEW, so I think he is going to be sticking around there a little bit longer. I missed the NWA Into the Fire pay-per-view. I do know that Marty Scurll debuted in that, but I didn't really see anything else on the pay-per-view, so I apologize for not having any information or any notes to share with you on that. It's hard to keep up with all this wrestling. My God. Man, there's a lot of fucking wrestling. I still feel like I left out a ton of shit I could have talked about this week, and I didn't even talk about the NWA, so yeah. Yeah, the TV title idea I think I would like, because who the hell has a WCW TV title signed by Chris Jericho? Nobody. Nobody buys the TV title. I've had that belt for 20 years, man. I would never sell it. I just don't do stuff like that. Any memorabilia I have, I would keep. But if I did want to sell it, it'd probably go for a pretty decent amount. It's a pretty rare belt to find these days. Oh, Nash canceled? Are you sure? Son of a bitch. I was really looking forward to Nash being there. Check out the updated on the Jericho Cruise website. I check out the updated lineup. It's changing all the time. But Vicky Guerrero and Eddie Guerrero's daughter are going to be there. Lots of podcasters, Conrad and Brian Alvarez, Meltzer, all sorts of people. Booker T will be on the cruise as well, which is kind of weird. Flair will be there. There's a lot of there's some WWE talent on there. Moxley's going to be there. A lot of the AEW roster is going to be on the show, or on the boat. Luchasaurus, Bucks, Jericho, all sorts of guys. So they're definitely going to be doing some matches for Dynamite on the cruise. It's going to be a fucking blast. Oop, I'm sorry for kicking the monitor there. So yeah, I think that pretty much. I would like to go as Austin. I don't know if I can pull it off though. I'll try. Austin's a little beefier than me. I think Gilbert might be more fun. I even thought about Christopher Daniels too, like doing a Fallen Angel kind of gimmick or whatever. But I'm just trying to think of like bald dudes, because I don't want to wear a wig. I don't want to do that. I don't look good in wigs. So if I'm going to dress up as any wrestler for this big costume contest, I should probably be a bald-headed guy. Either way, I'm not going to win. My girlfriend's going to look much more like Bret Hart than I'm going to look like Gilbert. And I think if Solomonster goes as Orange Cassidy, he's going to be your winner there. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but right now I'm leaning towards Gilbert. I just need to get my hands on a Job Squad t-shirt. I better get on that. I might hit up Pro Wrestling Tees while I have the chance. Speaking of Pro Wrestling Tees, I finally did contact my graphics guy, and I've got a couple of t-shirt designs finally in the works. So those will be added to the site in the next few weeks, and I will let you guys know when they do, for those of you who want some new merch. And other than that, I've got really nothing else to say. So we went a little bit less than 2 hours this week. I want to thank you guys for hanging out this afternoon. I also want to thank you for a great, I think this would have been the 17th or 18th episode of the Winged Eagle of the year. I started these back in January. I moved my podcast to a live format to allow myself more time to edit different types of videos. There was just too much to talk about every week, and I wanted to kind of abandon the previous way I did it. It was a rough year. I had a lot going on. I had a lot of trips to take. I lost my father. There was a lot of factors that went into me deciding to change up how I did the weekly podcasts, and so far, this way has been working out, although I do understand that I still have a lot of improving to do. Even back when I first started back in September, you go look at some of those early Winged Eagle podcasts. I didn't have my lighting right. I had all sorts of camera problems, technical difficulties out the ass at first until I kind of got the ball rolling and everything kind of settled down. Now I feel like I'm in the groove. I'm in, my niche here, and I'm comfortable doing these every Saturday, but I still have a lot of room to improve as far as how I, deliver my opinions and all of that, and even how I read through my notes, because I got all the way down to the end of my podcast here and completely forgot that I didn't mention Jungle Boy and Chris Jericho on Dynamite. So I know I've got some improving to do, but I appreciate you guys being here, sticking with me, and working through some of these changes on the podcast. But this really does work out for the best, me doing the weekly podcast this way, where I talk about current events, current weeks of TV, to just be able to come up here and bust this out live without any editing and without any bullshit makes it really easy for me to continue uploading content on the channel. I want to spend my time editing on videos that have longer shelf lives, like pay-per-view reviews, This Day in Histories, things like that. They can stay up on YouTube forever, because in 2 weeks, who the hell is going to care about what happened on this past week's SmackDown? You know what I mean? So that was kind of my motivation for changing the podcast into this format, and I'm trying to get better, and I think as we go through 2020, I will improve even more on these, and feel free to leave any suggestions or critiques or anything you have in the comments below of what you would like to see out of this podcast that would make it better. But in the meantime, I'm still going to be working hard on other videos, and like I said, tomorrow, brand new This Day in History. I want to see if you guys can guess it. If you guys can guess what match I'm going to talk about. Let's do a guessing game before I sign off here. So tomorrow's This Day in History. It's a Christmas-themed match that took place on December 22nd, and I'm not going to tell you the year. I'm just going to tell you it was in the 90s. And it was a title match, and a belt changed hands. Does anybody have any idea what I'm talking about? Let's see if y'all know. Dress as DOA. That might be good. I need like other dudes. I could be one Harris twin. Remember when the Harris boys were in WCW and they were Patrick and Gerald, and they argued over who got to be Gerald because neither one of them wanted to be Patrick? Oh, that was funny. Oh, I could do Muda. Might be interesting if I shave my head. Yeah, I thought about Ricochet's finger lube, Jesus. I did think about dressing up as Christopher Daniels, because I am on a boat full of wrestling fans, so it's not like they wouldn't know who I was if I found the right gear and the right face paint, but I don't know if I want to go through that trouble. And I don't want to shave off my goatee either, so I don't know. I don't have many options. As a bald-headed goatee dude, I have like 3. Hey, Repo Man, that's a good one. Hurricane's good. Repo Man I like. I don't know, Luna, if I can find the costume in time. Where the hell do I get tire track tights? No, Sam, it's not Cena vs. HBK. It's 90s. 90s is what this was. Thank you, Ben Espinita. You've been a fan of the channel since 2014. That's awesome. I don't know. Does know. Good job. You guessed it. And it was a fun one. I recorded it last night and had a really good time discussing my memories of this match, because it was the very first Christmas I ever spent in San Diego. And I watched the match with my mom. And you'll hear all about that story tomorrow on the channel. But good job. I don't know. You guessed correctly. So sorry to spoil it for any of you, but nobody, the views are never huge on the This Day in Histories. I'll probably get less than 1,000 in the first day. It'll be slow going on the This Day in Histories, but I really enjoy doing them. They're short, they're fast, they're to the point, and they make for good content on the channel. So I had a really good time talking about that match, and I will upload my memories of that tomorrow for a brand new This Day in History. Like I said, after tomorrow's This Day in History episode, that will likely be, I'm basically taking the entire Christmas week off. I'm not going to be reviewing Raw on Monday because the show was taped a week ago, and then we have the Christmas holiday, and then next week's Winged Eagle podcast will not air because there's just not going to be enough meat on the bone. There's not going to be enough to talk about, or it's going to be a slow news week, and I probably won't be able to fill up a 2-hour-long podcast if I do one next Saturday. So you're not going to get me until December 30th for the big year-end Q&A and Raw review, but I might be up here this week, maybe Thursday or Friday, with just like a brief live stream, like an off-camera live stream discussing any breaking wrestling news, if we do get any big story or, God forbid, a death or anything big that happens in wrestling that needs to be discussed. I'll definitely come up here and do that. But if nothing happens and it's a slow news week and there's nothing going on, you very well might not hear from me until Monday, December 30th on the big year-end video. But stay tuned to social media. Shoot me a like over on Facebook and follow me on Twitter, because I will be putting up posts for the Q&A, allowing you guys to ask questions directly on social media, and I'll pull those along with Patreon, along with my email, and along with everyone else in the chat, and we will have a long, fun night of wrestling discussion 1 week from now on December 30th. Now, the only thing that makes me worried is my plan is to open the bottle of bubbly that's right behind me there and drink that on the 30th. But on the 29th, I have some friends in town. My best friend is in town, and I'm going to be going over to the family's house for a big dinner, and there's probably going to be a lot of drinking involved. So I'm going to try my best to be in the mood to drink alcohol on the 30th. And I might just pace myself a little bit on the 29th. And I just don't want to be hungover. I don't want to try to force feed myself champagne or sparkling wine with a fucking hangover. So that's the only thing that sucks about the 30th. But I do plan on cracking that bad boy open, and we're going to drink the bubbly, and we're going to talk about wrestling, and we'll talk about the year, highlights of the year, anything you guys want to talk about. One thing I will not be doing, though, on the year-end show is doing like year-end awards or like best match of the year, worst match of the year, best this, best that. My memory sucks, and I don't remember anything that happened during the year. I didn't even remember that AJ Styles faced Randy Orton at WrestleMania up until a few weeks ago. So I just don't have the memory for that, and I don't have time to research the entire fucking year. So when it comes to the video on the 30th, it won't be a whole lot of that. So if you do have questions for me and you want to send them to me, try to avoid those, because I probably won't answer it. If you say, what was your top 5 matches of the year? I don't know. I don't know. I don't fucking remember. So that's that type of stuff. Those type of questions I just will have difficulty answering. So I generally avoid them. So plenty of other YouTube channels do the year-end awards and top this of the year and all that shit. So go check out those guys. That's not really in my wheelhouse, but it'll be fun. It'll be a fun night, and it'll be a fun way to end 2019 here on the YouTube channel. Thank you once again for all of your support. It's been another fantastic year of good growth on the channel, and it's been fun. And now that I'm approaching my 10th year on YouTube, I am still not tired of doing it, and I would like to be here continuing this as my second job and second source of income as long as I can, forever, provided YouTube doesn't completely collapse on us. So anyway, y'all check back on the channel tomorrow for a brand new This Day in History. Have a good rest of your day and weekend. And since this will be the last time I'm speaking to you live before the holidays, have a great and awesome holiday season, whatever you celebrate, whether it's Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever. I hope you have an excellent time with your family. I hope you're able to enjoy some time off of work, and just enjoy the holiday season with your loved ones in general. I wish you all a very, very happy holiday season, Merry Christmas, and all of that. I will catch you on the 30th, and yeah, we'll see you then. Y'all be good. Peace.